There are so many things that are like contradictions in my own unconscious associations with aging, where there's some of it that I am genuinely jazzed about. And then there are other things that trigger all of these worries about if I will be attractive to the people I want to be attracted to. A lot of people around me are starting to use the word old to describe us and them. And I'm always like, I honestly don't relate to it because my grandma is still alive and she's 96 and she is one of my favorite people in the world. And because I have close relationships with people in their 50s and 60s and 70s, I think that keeps things in perspective for me. Like, I'm very young. I feel like if I were a tree, my trunk is so much more serene and solid now than it used to be. There's a potency in this stillness where there used to be a lot of spinning, like, what does someone think about that? Did I hurt their feelings? Did I disappoint someone? But I used to just have so many more voices in my head. And even though they're still there, I think they're quieter, and I just feel like more serenity in myself. I feel really genuinely excited about getting wiser, because I see it happening, and I see that in my mom, and I see that in my grandma. The part that's harder for me is I don't have a romantic partner, and I love being in partnership, like romantic partnership. And so I do go through phases where I just feel scared that, just that I don't know how long it will take before someone where there's that mutual yes. I talk about this with my friends who are just a few years older. There's this reality of a lot of women just getting more invisible as we get older in social settings. So I think there are so many things that are like contradictions in my own unconscious associations with aging, where there's some of it that I am genuinely jazzed about. And then there are other things that trigger all of these worries about if I will be attractive to the people I want to be attracted to. What weird contradictions, because I'm attracted to people who are like interested and interesting and alive and full of vitality, and I don't give a shit what their skin looks like, you know? Like, I like getting these little lines. They remind me of my mom. So it's such a bundle of grappling with these contradictions. Embracing trade-offs. My bestie and I are looking at starting a family together. If we, as friends who are not romantic partners to each other, if we have a child and we start a family, that probably will mean that our dating life changes a little bit. Like, not everyone jumps at the chance to date someone who's caring for like a 3-month-old, you know, or like we may not even be slept enough to have the wherewithal to go out on a date. Or so trade-offs there, or trade-offs of like moving here, and I not getting to be there with my mom and like just show up for her in the day-to-day. I think making these choices, like that I am the person responsible for making these choices, and that these choices come with a cost, and that being such a conscious decision. There's something now that feels different about that process than what it felt like 10 years ago. Maybe it's also because of just saying goodbye to a lot of people, you know, over the last few years. Lost my dad, you know, when I was a teenager, and then Pops, my stepdad, about 1.5 years ago, and, you know, my grandpas and friends. And if I take a path, then there are going to be other things, you know, that aren't possible. So I think that's a That's a really, at times, heavy and poignant part of getting older. My mom. Love her. Amazing woman. She is very much like au naturel. So just growing up and watching her age, she's not resisting aging much. And a lot of it she's also really enjoying. So she's been a huge influence. And also, I grew up with two of my great grandmas being alive until I was a teenager. And I remember I remember helping my great grandma, my Nana, get ready. And so I helped her shower, and then I helped her get dressed. And she had several kids, so like her breasts had migrated south over the years. And she was in her 90s at this point. And so she was like, fuck it, you know, like I'm living my best life. So she told me how she was so happy that she didn't have to wear a brassiere anymore. So anyway, so we're getting ready, and she's like, she wears this dress and it's kind of loose and comfortable. And then she wears this belt, and she was like a little tiny bit hunched over the years. And so she's sitting down, and we get her dressed, and I put this belt around her, and then she goes to stand up, and she goes, oh! Because she wasn't wearing a brassiere, like her breasts were fairly low. And so we had put the belt like over her breasts because she was kind of hunched over. And it was just, we were cracking up so much. Oh my God, we were cracking up so much. And it was just so nice to get to be around her body. Like I got to be with her when she showered. I just got to be around her body as she was 90-something years old. I'm just so grateful. I think that's huge. It's something that I really wonder about with so many people in the world, especially in the US, but in so many places of the world, not being like physically close to someone who's 30, 40, 60 years older than them. And like, oh, that must make such a difference, you know? If I didn't see like the skin on her hands changing and know that that was going to happen to me. So I notice the influence of US narratives in these very specific little ways. I think in the US, it's just so rare in media to see women who are naturally aging. Like, most hair is dyed. A lot of people in a very public sphere, like celebrities, do get plastic surgery or whatever and are not able to be honest about that, you know, because they're caught in this hypocritical no-win situation. Good friendships. That makes such a big difference. Just having friendships across such a huge range of ages. Yeah, like getting to be there with Nana, you know, when her boobs got caught in her belt, and just getting to navigate these moments where it's like, well, that's gonna happen. I'm not a rebel in so many areas of my life, even though I would love to be. Like, I just fit so many stereotypes. I'm not nearly as much of a rebel as I would like to be. But there is enough of a little rebel in me that I get really motivated to be like, screw this idea. There are lots of bad ideas about women and aging out there, and I would really like to be part of just ditching them and embodying a different way forward. For me, one of the coolest things is just having access to people from different backgrounds being badass. I grew up as a sci-fi geek, and eventually, very, very, very gradually, and probably way too late, I was like, all the characters tend to be kind of like these young white hero guys, and then the only women in them are like these kind of Amazonian women who somehow really like to have sex and kill people and make lots of babies and be really smart. Like, something seems a little imbalanced here. And there was this whole like kind of flood of writers coming out of Nigeria writing science fiction that's really grounded in Afrofuturism and just super cool influences. Just in my personal life, and I see it happening in the circles that I'm part of. There are just more examples definitely besides like white stars, and more examples of bodies and religious beliefs and gender identities and personality. Like, I just feel like the possibilities for who to look up to are stretching slowly in mainstream culture. And I think that has a huge benefit on women, and I think that has a huge benefit on men and of any gender, to be like, more boxes to choose from. I'm looking at this tree right now. It's amazingly green. It's just verdant green. And then I know in probably about a month and a half, it'll be orange and brown and red, and then it will be bare. And it's just so nice to be influenced by that. And I really, really, really hope that there is enough plant life where people live that we can remember that. There's so many reasons why I want my work to be centered around like climate justice, and one of them is because humans just get way too caught up in our own ideas of things. We've made this whole artificial interpretation of what beauty is. I think just the more time that we spend with things that are non-human, the more we remember what like a much bigger idea of beauty, and that seems really, really important to me and really healthy.